Bangkok does not grow quieter at night. It grows more legible. In daylight, the city can seem to come at you all at once. Too much concrete, too much traffic, too much appetite, too much life insisting on itself in the same burning hour. But after dark, something curious happens. The glare softens into pattern. The noise separates into layers. And what first looked like chaos begins to reveal a secret discipline. Then you start to see it. This city is not held together by stillness, nor by symmetry, nor even by any clear idea of order. It is held together by motion. Before we go on, I'd like to ask you something. When you think of Bangkok, what is the first feeling that comes to mind? Chaos? Excitement? Restlessness? Wonder? Tell me in the comments below. Bangkok does not offer itself in one grand gesture. It does not stand before you like Paris, arranged for admiration. Or like some imperial capital that believes its monuments are sufficient introduction. Bangkok comes in pieces. A train slipping past a wall of glass. A burst of steam under neon. The quick shine of a canal between buildings. A shrine glowing under an overpass, as if devotion had simply found whatever space the city forgot to occupy. And perhaps that is why the city lingers in the mind with such peculiar force. Not because it can be grasped so quickly, but because it resists being reduced to one clear image. Bangkok is never only skyline, never only street, never only spectacle. It is always several cities speaking at once, and none of them polite enough to wait their turn. By day, that can feel exhausting. The eye is asked to work too hard. Everything demands attention, and all at once. Heat, signage, traffic, wires, voices, towers, market stores, sideways, sidewalks that disappear the most you trust them. One understands immediately why so many visitors reach for the lazy word, chaos. But night is kinder to Bangkok, or perhaps simply more honest. Because in the dark, the city no longer tries to pretend that all its contradictions belong to one surface. It begins to separate into strata. Light rises upward. Roads turn into arteries. Rail lines declare themselves. Windows float in towers, like forts not yet put to rest. The city does not become simpler, but it becomes more readable. You begin to sense that what looked like confusion was often only simultaneity. Too many systems, too many rhythms, too many intentions, occupying the same frame. And that, more than any monument, feels like Bangkok's true subject. Not beauty. True beauty appears often enough, and sometimes where one least expected. Not modernity. The city is restless with the desire to modernize itself over and over. Not even contradiction. Seductive as the word may be. The deeper truth may be simpler and stranger. Bangkok is the city kept alive by movement. Not merely in the obvious sense of cars and trains and boats, but in the larger sense that motion here has become a way of thinking. The city solves problems by flowing around them. It observes pressure by redistributing it. It extends itself upward when the ground grows too crowded, outward when the center becomes too dense. sideways when a straight answer proves impractical. It is not a city of classical elegance, it is a city of adaptation, and that is another kind of grace. Seen from above, Bangkok can look almost composed, which is one of its more charming deceptions. At night, the roads draw themselves in red and white lines through the dark, and the city begins to resemble the kind of place urban planners like to imagine they have created. Coherent, legible, efficient, perhaps even a little majestic. Towers stand in clusters with the confidence of finished ideas. Highways spanned with the sleekness that suggests intention rather than compromise. From the distance, Bangkok appears to have agreed with itself. But cities, like people, are often most persuasive at the distance, where they are at least truthful. Descend a little, and Bangkok immediately becomes more interesting. The clean lines blur into negotiations. The roads are still there, but now they are full of hesitation, opportunism, impatience, little burst of courage, sudden surrender. The towers remain, but beneath them one notices the smaller economies that make grandeur possible. The food stall under fluorescent light, the mechanic working late, the woman selling fruit by the curb, the plastic chairs, the weary faces, the delivery riders still crossing the city, as if midnight were merely a rumor. This is one of the reasons Bangkok feels less designed than continually improvised. Its beauty does not come from purity, it comes from coexistence. The polished city and the provisional city do not cancel one another out. They continue side by side, something touching, sometimes ignoring each other, sometimes depending on each other, more than either would care to admit. From above, Bangkok can look like a completed image. Up close, it reveals itself as an unfinished conversation. Nowhere does that conversation feel more intense than at Victory Monument. Here, movement is not simply part of the view. It is the logic of the place, its weather, its temperament. Traffic folds in on itself and unfurls again. Buses arrive with a kind of impatient solemnity. As though public transport were not a service, but a test of civic endurance. Motorbikes slip through openings so narrow they seem less to obey the laws of traffic than to narrated private exemptions from them. Above all this, the tracks of the Skytrain pass their own superior calm, as if they belong to a more disciplined version of the same city. And between the systems, there are the people, always the people, emerging from staircases, gathering at railings, waiting under harsh light, crossing walkways with the automatic grace of those who have long ago surrendered the fantasy that urban life should be gentle. No one seems to hold the whole picture in mind. No one appears to command the scene, and yet the scene holds. That may be Bangkok's quiet genius. It does not always look organized, it looks narrated. In other cities, order is often a visible principle. One sees it in symmetry, in silence, in the respectable distance between things. Bangkok hides order more slyly. It lets sensation arrive first. The heat, the density, the sheer quantity of movement. These are what present themselves to the newcomer. Only later, if one has the patience to remain, does another impression emerge. That beneath the pleasure lies habit, beneath habit lies structure, and beneath structure something almost like trust. Not trust in perfection, certainly not, but trust that the city, for all its fictions, will continue to function by the accumulated intelligence of repetition. Victory Monument is not beautiful in any sentimental sense. It is too busy for that, too exposed, too intent, and getting through the next minute. But it is revealing. It shows Bangkok without its cosmetic courtesy cities often extend to visitors. It says in effect, this is how life moves here, not tiddily, not leisurely, not always elegantly, but with astonishing persistence. The Skytrain gives Bangkok another register and visit another philosophy. There is something faintly utopian about stepping onto an elevated platform in this city. Up here, Bangkok seems to have made a pact with clarity. The trains arrive with polished confidence. The doors open and close without drama. And for a few moments, one is allowed to imagine an urban future in which movement has been made clear. Line has been made clean, linear, almost abstract. The city below may still be entangled in its own dense vocabulary of traffic and trade. But above the street, everything appears to move with composure. And yet, Bangkok never permits abstraction to remain pure for very long. Even from the platform, the older city refused to vanish. One still sees the stall under the tracks. The side street branching off into private economies. The food cars, the shrine smoke, the fluorescent weariness of late commerce. The elevated city does not replace the one beneath it. It glides over it like a promise made to the future, while the past continues working the night shift below. That is what makes Bangkok so difficult to summarize and so rewarding to watch. It never fully abandons what it has been. Even as it constructs new versions of itself overhead. It is a city of levels in the literal sense, but also in the moral and imaginative one. There is the city of plans and systems, and there is the city of improvisation. There is the city that wants to move faster, and the city that knows speed solves less than it claims. There is the city of glass, and the city of smoke. And they continue in each other's company with a kind of seasoned resignation. Bangkok is full of this in-between spaces. Staircases, footbridges, platforms, walkways. Thresholds where one mode of the city gives way to another. In many places such spaces feel accidental, merely functional. In Bangkok they become inhabited. People pause there, eat there, wait there, sell things there, lean into the light there. Even transition becomes a place to live in, briefly. And perhaps that is one of the city's deeper charms. It grants no strict borders between where life happens and where one is merely passing through. In the elevated lines suggest one Bangkok, the street below immediately correct the impression. In Sukhumvit, the city performs a version of itself that is bright, international, quick to quite convert appetite into architecture. Glass signage confidence, vertical ambition. Everything here seems arranged to assure the passerby that modern life remains. Available at almost any hour, provided one is willing to pay, to move, to keep up. Even leisure has a certain velocity to it. The district does not really rest, it changes shifts. And yet, what makes Sukhumvit memorable is not its polish alone. It is the faint incompleteness of that polish. Bangkok never sustains sleekness for too long without allowing something more human to show through. A tired worker at the edge of a lit storefront. A delivery rider pausing beside expensive glass. A narrow side street slipping away from the main road as if the city, having made one glamorous statement, immediately wished to mutter something more practical under its breath. Then Chinatown changed the pressure entirely. Not faster, exactly, denser, thicker, closer to the body. Here the city does not merely display itself. It cooks, sweets, haggles, stacks, feeds, glows. Steam rises into neon with the confidence of an old alliance. Metal meets metal. Flames lead up in the middle of commerce as through fire itself had signed a lease. Goods are not curated, they are amassed. Faces appear and disappear in light and smoke with that strange half-theatrical, half-exhausted quality only great Asian cities seem able to sustain after dark. But the charm of Chinatown lies precisely in the fact that its spectacle is never empty. Nothing feels staged only for admiration. The beauty comes from the use. The drama comes from necessity. Commerce is not a decorative theme. It is the operating principle. And because it is lived rather than presented, it acquires a rough dignity. Bangkok understands, perhaps better than many cities, that the practical and the luminous are not enemies. A meal can be prepared under harsh light and still feel miraculous. A narrow lane can be crowded with labor and still seem theatrical. The ordinary, if it's alive enough, does not need to borrow grandeur. And so Bangkok keeps escaping the adjective preparing for it. Exotic, chaotic, exciting. These are the words of people who have seen movement without yet noticing form. The city is richer than that, and also more exacting. It asks more than admiration. It asks attention. And then the water returns. Just when Bangkok begins to feel entirely made of concrete, rail, traffic and glass, the Khlongs remind the city of another self. Along the canals, the rhythm changes. Movement does not stop, but it loosens. Boats pass with purpose, through without the hard aggression of the roads. Houses lean toward the water, as if it's still belonging to an older geography. Reflection tremble. Roofs catch the last of the light. For a moment, the city seems to remember that before it became vertical, it was fluid. That matters, because the Khlongs are not just atmosphere. They are not just pretty contrast to the skyline. They complicate the identity of the city. They remind you that Bangkok was never only a city of roads, never only a city of towers, never only a city trying to outrun its own congestion. It is also a city shaped by water, by drift, by older routes that still survive inside the modern one. And when you see the boats, canals and towers in the same frame, Bangkok starts to feel like a city moving in more than one time at once. That may be one of the reasons it lingers so strongly in the mind. It does not fully leave its earlier selves behind. Bangkok also becomes more interesting the moment one looks beyond the most familiar images. The skyline may dominate the imagination, but a city of this scale is not made only for its famous districts. It is made of connections, tracks, roads, commutes, deliveries, returns. The daily crossings that keep the center alive. To watch the trains beyond the dance core is to see another truth about Bangkok. The city does not end where the glamour fades. It continues into the quieter zones of repetition, where life is less about display and more about continuation. And sometimes that is where a city becomes most honest. The train beyond the center has none of the drama of neon or skyline, but it may tell you the truth more clearly. Because cities are not built only out of arrival. They are built out of transit. Out of all the ordinary distances people cross every day, often so routinely that those journeys never become memorable at all. And yet, without them, nothing would work. Bangkok seen this way feels less like a collection of landmarks and more like a field of movement. A city drawn again each day by the people passing through it. Then, almost unexpectedly, Bangkok offers another rhythm. Benjakitti does not deny the city around it. The skyline is still present. The towers still frame the view. The machinery of the metropolis is never far away. But here, movement changed character. After the roads, the stations, the markets, the canals, and the constant pressure of necessity, the sight of runners and walkers shifts the emotional tone of the city. Bodies are still moving, but not under the same terms. Here movement feels chosen. That distinction matters. In most of Bangkok, motion answers obligation. People move because they must. They are on the way to the work, home, delivery, duty, the next task. In the park, movement seems briefly returned to the self. A runner tracing the curve beside the water. A couple walking into the evening. Cyclists moving through the last soft light. This is not idleness. It is rhythm restored. The park feels less like an escape from Bangkok than like Bangkok answering itself. As if the city, so skilled at acceleration, had decided for a moment to remember another kind of intelligence, not speed, pace. And that may be why Benjakitti feels so important in the film. It reveals that even a city built on pressure still contains a desire for balance, for measure, for a way of moving that belongs not to the machine, but to the body. For a while, Bangkok no longer feels like a test of endurance. It feels like a place where endurance has found a gentler form. Perhaps that is the real subject of Bangkok After Dark. Not speed, but speeds. Not movement, but movements. The train above the street. The traffic below. The canal in shadow. The vendor under white light. The runner in the park. The worker heading home. The city of appetite. The city of fatigue. The city of memory. The city of ambition. All of them exist at once, and none of them fully cancels the others out. That is why Bangkok resists summary. The moment you think you have found the city's essence, another Bangkok appears beside it. There is a Bangkok of systems, the Bangkok of heat and commerce, the Bangkok that still remembers water, the Bangkok already preparing for tomorrow before tonight is finished. And a quieter Bangkok that only appears in a passing, in a phase, a pause, a reflection, a brief silence under the lights. No single image can hold all of them, but perhaps a rhythm can. Perhaps that is why the city remains in the mind. Not because every detail is remembered, but because one remembers the feeling of many reality happens at once and somehow continuing. And maybe that is Bangkok's deepest form of elegance. Not the elegance of perfection, the elegance of adaptation. The city does not solve all its contradictions. It survives through them. It bends around pressure. It allows the planned and the improvised to occupy the same frame. And still it works. Seen from a distance, Bangkok can look coherent. Seen up close, it breaks into negotiations. Perhaps both views are true. The city holds together not because it has removed friction, but because it has learned how to live with it. And the longer one watches, the less useful the old word becomes. Chaos. Bangkok is not simple, but it is not unreadable. You only have to watch long enough and at the right hour. then the roads are no longer only roads. The rail lines are no longer only infrastructure. The canals are no longer only remnants. The park is no longer only relief. Everything becomes part of the same larger grammar. A city of overlapping tempos. A city of constant adjustment. A city whose true order is not stillness, but motion. And perhaps that is why, after dark, Bangkok feels less like a destination than like a force. A city always in the act of becoming itself. If this film gave you a new way to look at Bangkok, I'd be glad to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy this quieter journeys through place, history and atmosphere, please consider liking the video and subscribing to Timeless Tales. And if you like to support the channel more directly and help future films like this one take shape, you can also join as a member. Thank you for watching.